Gavin Ashenden once served as chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II. For years, he was also a lecturer in the psychology of religion. He was trained to question unusual experiences, to test them carefully, to look for psychological explanations first. But after years of investigation, Ashenden reached a conclusion that changed his life completely. He became Catholic, and according to him, the reason was not politics, church culture, or liturgy. It was the supernatural. Ashenden said he spent years studying Christian mystical experiences, Marian apparitions, and miracles. At first, he approached them with skepticism. Then he discovered something surprising. Many of these stories, he believed, could not be easily dismissed. One of the first things that drew him deeper into Catholicism was devotion to Mary. He began reading ancient Christian writings, including an account from Gregory of Nyssa describing a Marian apparition in the 3rd century. That led him to explore famous Marian events throughout history. He studied places like Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico, apparitions in Cairo, Egypt, and the events at Akita in Japan. But one case especially caught his attention: Garabandal, Spain. In the 1960s, several children there claimed to experience visions of the Virgin Mary. Video footage showed the children entering unusual ecstatic states. Ashenden even showed the footage to a child psychologist colleague. The psychologist reportedly concluded that whatever was happening, the children were not faking it. According to him, children that age could not realistically imitate those kinds of ecstatic experiences. The messages connected to Garabandal were simple: repent, pray sincerely, and follow Christ more deeply. But Ashenden's most personal experience came years later. In 2008, he said he experienced something terrifying. 3 nights in a row, from around 1 a.m. until 5 a.m., he felt overwhelmed by intense fear, despair, accusation, and what he described as a sense of evil presence. He even described smelling sulphur and feeling psychological torment. Desperate for help, he contacted a Catholic exorcist. The priest gave him one instruction: pray the Rosary. Ashenden obeyed. According to him, the experiences began to weaken. Then, on the 3rd night, the atmosphere suddenly changed. Instead of fear and sulphur, he smelled roses throughout the room, even though the windows were closed. After that, the attacks never returned. But emotional experiences alone were not enough for him. Ashenden also wanted physical evidence for Catholic claims. That led him to the famous Eucharistic miracle in Buenos Aires in 1996. A consecrated host found on a church floor was placed in water to dissolve, following Catholic practice. Instead, witnesses reported that the host appeared to bleed. The local archbishop at the time was Francis, then known as Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He ordered an investigation. Eventually, samples were reportedly examined by forensic cardiologist Frederick Zujaib. According to the investigation, the tissue appeared to be human heart muscle, showing signs of severe trauma. For Ashenden, this was powerful evidence that the Catholic understanding of the Eucharist might actually be true. At the same time, he was reading the early church fathers. He noticed that many early Christians described the Eucharist in deeply Catholic language, calling it things like the medicine of immortality. Meanwhile, Ashenden also became increasingly troubled by changes inside Anglicanism. He believed the Anglican Communion was slowly abandoning historic Christian doctrine in order to adapt to modern culture. In his view, that process led to division, confusion, and theological collapse. Catholicism, despite all its scandals and problems, seemed different to him. He believed it still claimed objective truth, and more importantly, he believed those claims could actually be tested. That became the turning point. Ashenden did not become Catholic because he preferred old traditions or Latin liturgy. He became Catholic because he concluded that the supernatural claims of the Church, the Eucharist, Marian apparitions, spiritual warfare, and the power of prayer, were real. For him, Catholicism was no longer just a historical institution. It was something alive,